Okay, and she uses this term, she uses the term structural injustice. And what she's talking about is institutions, practices, systems. Again, you don't need to know all of this, but she says that things like racism can occur through lots of forms, not just violence, but for instance, stereotyping, through removing power, things like voter suppression, through marginalizing, so maybe making people live in certain places that are further away from certain other places, or exploitation for less than white people. So there's lots of different ways that people can be oppressed. Okay. And then if we just look at exploitation of Black workers, for instance, as an instance of racism or discrimination, then you can see that unionization, so this is workers who are in a union, which is a common way in which workers on low wages can have power against their employers and therefore fight for better wages and things like that. You can see that less white people were unionized than Black people in terms of percentages, and therefore that when unionization has been pushed back against by various US governments, that has meant Black people have sort of suffered worse because more of them used to be unionized and could fight for better wages, whereas now much fewer Black people are unionized. And you could say, yes, but still more than white people. But the point is that Black people tend to be in lower wage jobs where being in a union is more important because the union can fight for wages where every dollar matters, whereas more white people are in better paid jobs where you don't need to fight for, minimum wages and things like that. Then also we just need to think about international forms of racism. So perhaps we might think less Black people are working in horrific conditions in coal mines in the USA, for instance, but maybe that's just shifted the racism onto other countries. So there's maybe those Black people are not working in US coal mines, but they're working in coal mines in Africa or South America or wherever it may be, okay? And then likewise, stop and search as just another example. These are all just examples you could look into if you want to. Something in the news a lot in the UK. Stop and search is basically when the UK police are allowed under certain laws to stop someone if they think they might be committing a crime, and that's up to their interpretation, and then to search them to see if they have something illegal on them, like drugs or a weapon or some evidence that can link them to a crime. And what you can see is that in 2010, a Black person was about 6.5 times more likely to be stopped and searched by a policeman compared to a white person. In 2013, that had dropped to 4. So there was improvement there. It was more equal. Still, a Black person was 4 times more likely to be stopped, but that's less than 6.5. Whereas then in 2016, 2018, it had gone right back up to 8.5 times. So here we definitely see that racism has not reduced. It reduced a bit, but then it's grown to even worse than it was. So that's just another example of why we shouldn't simply assume that racism is going down.